Now, Mr. Speaker, today's reports of Russian provocation illustrate the scale of the threat from Putin, but they also show why Britain needed a defence investment plan that was fully funded instead of one with a £5 billion IOU for the next Prime Minister. Now, on that point, the DRI Minister responsible for producing the DIP admitted on the media round last week that he only found out about the missing £5 billion after the DIP was published. When did the Secretary of State find out?
Let me gently respond by saying that we inherited a Ministry of Defence that was underfunded, over-programmed and completely unsuited to the threats that we face now in the future. This government has committed £298 billion. He mentions £5 billion. Let me tell him that we're spending more than £5 billion, the largest ever drone investment for the UK, learning the lessons of Ukraine. We've been clear about the need to spend more on defence, and we will do that. But I won't be taking any lessons from the honourable gentleman.
This isn't good enough, Mr. Speaker. The Defence Investment Plan has completely unravelled because despite being many months late, they still haven't worked out where they're going to get the money from. Now, either, Mr. Speaker, the Secretary of State knowingly signed off a Defence Investment Plan with a £5 billion poison pill for the Right Honourable Member for Makerfield, or, like his procurement minister, he was kept in the dark by the Chancellor. Which is it?
I'm sorry to say that is performative nonsense from the Shadow Secretary of State, who should know better. We inherited a defence budget that was underfunded, overcommitted and simply not fit for the threats that we face. This government has committed £298 billion over the next 4 years, alongside £15 billion of additional resource for the DIP. Yes, we'll need to do more. The spending review will provide the opportunity to do that. And I hope, perhaps, maybe we could establish a political consensus about the importance of doing that.
Shadow Minister Mark Francois.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I endorse your tribute to the late Sir George Howarth? And may I also take this opportunity to welcome the incoming Veterans Minister to his new position. In the 2 years he's been in this House, he's already established a reputation for independence of mind and for fearlessly speaking truth to power, regardless of the consequences. And I'm sure that will stand him in very good stead now. Regarding Northern Ireland veterans specifically, when the previous Armed Forces Minister resigned, on principle, partly over the legacy issue, he famously described Labour's Northern Ireland Troubles Bill as not fit for purpose. What does the Secretary of State think he meant by that?
Mr. Speaker, I should begin by declaring an interest as a veteran who's served in Northern Ireland. And let me say to the Right Honourable Gentleman that this government is absolutely committed to the Troubles Bill. But I'm also determined to ensure that everyone involved, including families and veterans, are treated with fairness, dignity and respect. So this government will introduce a substantial package of amendments to strengthen protections for veterans and provide greater confidence that those who served our country are afforded the appropriate safeguards. We are engaging with stakeholders to ensure that the measures reflect the interests of our defence community and to deliver a balanced and fair approach to addressing the legacy of the Troubles.
Speaker, we've been waiting for those amendments almost as long as we've been waiting for the DIP. So can I ask, where is the Right Honourable Member for Makerfield on the legacy issue? Many regiments who hail from the northwest, such as the Duke of Lancaster's regiment, already mentioned once today, and the King's regiment before them, who traditionally recruited from both Liverpool and Manchester, did multiple tours in Northern Ireland on Op Banner. So has the Secretary of State had any indications that our likely new Prime Minister is going to do right by those former soldiers from his own region, scrap the benighted bill, which helped Sinn Féin pursue our veterans via lawfare and get rid of the whole nonsense altogether?
Let me say to the Shadow Minister that genuinely I want to find a way forward with this that could attract cross-party support. But I would remind him and some members opposite that the previous government's Legacy Act left our veterans with no certainty, no protection, and victims and families with no justice. No veteran ever received immunity through the law, and it risked giving immunity to terrorists. This government has and will bring forward new primary legislation which is legally compliant and recognises our veterans' interests in order to properly deal with the legacy of the Troubles.
Katrina Berry.
Number 10, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
The UK is committed to...
Democrat spokesperson James Bashiri.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As our brave Ukrainian allies have halted the advance of the Russian army, Putin has resorted to expanding his air campaign against Kyiv and other Ukrainian civilian targets. His growing barbarism is matched only by his desperation. The UK is rightly proud to have led the world in supporting Ukraine and punishing Putin for his aggression. But now must be the moment that we turn the screw further. I welcome the new sanctions announced today by the Foreign Secretary, but the lifeblood of Putin's war economy is the sale of oil, gas and coal to the world. Liberal Democrats believe there should be no legitimate routes to market for Russian fossil fuels. So ahead of tomorrow's NATO summit, will the Secretary of State and colleagues in the Foreign Office ask the Prime Minister to work with our allies to ban the provision of all maritime services for the export of Russian oil, oil products, gas and coal?
Well, Mr Speaker, I'm very grateful to him for raising the important point of support for Ukraine. And whilst in this House it would appear that we're not able to agree on the defence investment plan, I hope that we can agree on the importance of supporting our allies in Ukraine. My first call as the new Defence Minister was to my opposite number in Ukraine. In my first weekend we interdicted the Russian shadow vessel, and in my first week we provided 752 million of support for Ukraine. We need to keep going with that, and he's right to raise the importance of the NATO summit, and I'll be working with the Prime Minister and with the Foreign Secretary to make sure, as he describes, we are tightening that screw.
Question
Number 2, Mr Speaker.
Minister, welcome.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And as it may be in excess of 47 years since the last Labour RAF veteran stood at this dispatch box, I'd like to acknowledge those that served on that squadron and group questions 2 and 11 together, if you would. Valour will improve the coordination of services at national, regional and local level, ensuring veterans across the UK have easier access to the support they deserve. We are making good progress. I opened the first Valour Centre on Thursday, and round 2 of funding is now open for applications. The first Valour field officers are already in post, with more to follow in the Valour HQ now fully resourced.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. West Horton is home to a fantastic local veterans charity called the Darren Deedy Foundation. Now, Darren bravely served in the Duke of Lancaster's regiment, but sadly died following injuries he sustained on the front line in Afghanistan. I had the privilege of visiting the foundation back in April and meeting Christine and Darren's mum, Julie, to discuss the vital work they do. Will the Minister join me in paying tribute to the incredible work done by everyone at the Darren Deedy?